I am starting to record so that you all know that. Just know that you are being recorded. That is primarily so that folks that cannot be here because life is happening, they want to be here, but they can't be here. We're going to make sure that they get access to the information anyway. So we are being recorded, but we are going to talk about norms and just review that quickly to make sure that we are honoring our space. So welcome again. My name is Erica Harris. I am your Chief Purpose Coach from Purposeful Seed. And rather than me do a greeting, I actually have someone else who's going to do a greeting today. So let me share my screen and let my sister do the talking for me. Hold on just a minute. Here she comes. She's so awesome. I love her. And she was just singing. So here she is.
Hey, Queen. Sister, you have done it again. Constantly raising the bar for us all and doing it flawlessly. I was just thinking about you, and I wanted you to know personally that you are exactly where you need to be on this journey. So take a deep breath, okay? Relax. Extend yourself a little grace. I know that it can be challenging, life, but never lose sight of who you are, because you are golden. And don't get me wrong. Now, I know that everything ain't for everybody. There are going to be some doubters and some naysayers. But don't let those fools on the sideline get in the way of your greatness. Take pride in who you are, your style, your smile, your peaceful mentality. And remember, always remember, you are 100% that queen.
Don't you feel like she was just talking to you? I so love her. Oh my goodness. Oh, I guess I have to turn this off. We're going to end up watching some Prince, it looks like. Thank you all so much for entertaining me. Like, if I had a girlfriend, like a celebrity girlfriend in my mind, it would absolutely be Jill Scott. Like, I would love to. I've been to several of her concerts, but if I could be in a room with somebody and just like, have a drink, have dinner, and chill out with somebody, it would absolutely be her. I love her spirit, her aura, I mean, she's so genuine. And I feel like when she's talking to all of us. And so I thought, what better way to introduce or bring you all into this space than to have her introduce or say hello to all the queens that are there today. So thank you all so much again for being here. I'm going to show my slides in just a second, but I'm still letting people in, and it's hard to go back and forth between letting people in the room and sharing. And I have my friend here, Kali, is going to help me. I'm going to make you co-host so you can help me do that. There's Kali. If she's not on camera, she'll still be there. And you all have questions, you can certainly send them to her directly and she'll get them to me. I so appreciate her help and all her support of me as a friend. I really do, because you have to have people in this world that you can depend on. So thank you, Khalid, for all that you have done for me in my life as my friend. I am so excited to have you all here today. As we get ready to get started, again, I want you all to do what we did yesterday. Put in the chat where you're from, because some of us are showing up for the first time. This is the first time they were here. So they don't know how big and vast our group is here. So put in the chat where you at. Yesterday we had Chicago, we had Dallas, we had some folks all the way out in LA. I mean, we were doing it from all different places. As I'm getting my slides up here ready. But tell us where you are. Let's see, where are we? I'm pulling up the thing. Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. I know Chicago is deep. That's my people are here. The DMV and all right, DC. Used to live there. We're all the way in Nicaragua. Christina is out there. Like we're global, you all. Like, thank you, Christina, for helping us to become global. That was not my intention. But as usual, God will blow your mind if you allow it. And I so appreciate everyone who is here, allowing us to just kind of stretch all over the globe and all over the country. What I love about this space is that no matter where we are, Black women have an experience, a lived experience that is so that we can connect right? And so I knew that I wasn't going to have to do too much to just create a safe space, and you all would help make it great. So I'm so excited that you all are here today. Just for those who are not here, again, my name is Erica Harris. I am purpose coach and career coach for my own company, which is called Purposeful Seed. I believe there is a seed of purpose in every single one of us, and my mission in life is to help that seed be nurtured, grow, develop, water it, so the world can see it, and so that you can be who you were meant to be. I tell people, as your coach, the beauty for me is that I don't have to have your answers. I don't have your answers, in fact, but it's my job to help create the space for you and to create the conditions that will allow you or help you to find the answers that are already within you. And so that's what we're here to do today, for you to dig a little bit deeper into who you are, who you want to be, and how to get there. So I'm excited to be able to do that. Again, I just want to remind people, if you could keep yourselves on mute until we move into breakout groups or until we have people to speak, that would be great. And then I want to ask you, we already know who's in the room, like in the sense of like where you are. But I want to also ask the question. This time I'm gonna do something a little different. Going to do a poll to ask how many people were actually here yesterday. And again, I'm not doing this with judgment of any sort. If you look on your screen, you should see a question that says who was here yesterday. And I just want to get a sense of like, I'm not going to do a whole recap, but I want to know. And it looks like we've got, like, okay, people are coming in. Make sure you put your answer in on the screen. I love this technology. It allows us to be able to engage. I can see people talking without even hearing you. I can see you communicating. It looks like we got most people's answers in. 38 out of 41 people have responded. All right, so let's see. It looks like we have almost 80% of you were here yesterday. That's awesome. That means that I'm doing, a teacher always has to judge herself by how interested is the kid is the next day, right? Yeah, I can be interested on Monday, but if I'm still here on Tuesday and I stay with you all the way to the end of the week, then I've done something amazing. So I am so excited. And that's not just me, that's also you all bringing your full selves to this space. So thank you. I'm sharing there. 80% of you all were here today. And for those of you who weren't, we're going to do a quick recap so that you know what was discussed. Just give that to you in just a second. So, in fact, let's do that. I'm going to do norms in just a second. I'm going to shift because I want you all to see what you said about what you learned. To me, this was fascinating. And can you all see my screen here? These are the results of the feedback survey, and it looked like about 31 of you filled it out, which I so appreciate. I use the feedback, I read it, and then I try to incorporate what you're asking for in the sessions, because this is what I call the FUBU event. This is for you, by you, right? So if I'm going to say that, then I have to actually use that. So this is what you said you all learned. Somebody said, I learned who am I? That they may not be able to answer that question, but hopefully maybe they're thinking a little bit different about it. Someone said, to be comfortable with who you are, right? That is important. The importance of living your purpose is something that we talked about a little bit yesterday, and we'll continue to talk about that. You are not what you do. We talked about that yesterday, right? That some of us are become accustomed to introducing or sharing ourselves by talking about all of the roles that we play: mom, wife, I work here, I work for, but you are more than what you do. And that is so important. And you have to be that person, not just do things, but actually be the person you were meant to be. And someone also said to absorb and understand the importance of who you are, that will direct what you do. And I believe that that's part of my mission in life, is to help people align who you are with what you decide to do with your time while you have it here on earth. And so I would say that you all passed the test from yesterday. You helped us understand exactly why it's important. I think the theme yesterday was know thyself. And I would give you all a passing grade based on what you all said in the survey. So awesome. Just want to remind, that's for people who were not here yesterday. I just want to remind those of you, again, who are not here, what our group norms are. It is so important as we move through this experience that we honor this space. We honor one another. And so just to repeat, we are all here to grow and to help each other to grow. This is a no judgment zone. Some of us are coming with some issues, some challenges, and today we're going to get into some heart stuff. I'm just telling you all that right now. I'm giving you the prelude. I'm going to ask you to go to your heart and not just your head today. And so when we do that, we don't want to have a judgment zone as we answer some of these questions. I want you to maintain the confidentiality. I mentioned yesterday, the stories stay here, the lessons go with us. We can share the lessons of what we learned, but we're not going to attach names to it. We're not going to talk about who said what. We're talking about what do we pull out of what we hear in this sacred space. We're also going to ask questions because you never know what question you have, somebody else may also ask. So don't be afraid. And even if you have to put it in the chat, just put it in the chat. And I read the chat. And sometimes I will respond to you all directly to answer those questions for you. And also, what do you get from this experience is based on what it is that you give. So give your whole self and you will get something from it. I should mention that on that same feedback survey that you all filled out, there were, of the 31 people, 80% of you all gave it a 10. Like not even, no, an 8 or higher. 80% gave, no, let me get this right. 100% gave it 8 or higher. 60% of you gave it a 10. So we were 8, 9, and 10 for 100% of the people here. And I believe that that's because of what people gave to the experience. What you put in is certainly what you're going to get out today. All right, so we are going to start and do the last thing that we did yesterday, which is to repeat our affirmation. I'm going to make it big here. You can do it in private or you can say it out loud with me. We're going to read our Black Woman Empowered affirmation for stating kind of why we're here and what we hope to get out of this experience. And then we will come back and begin our new lesson. All right, I'm trying to move this out of the way. Here we go. All right. It says, I am a Black woman and I am empowered. Empowered to know
who I am
in all my
brilliance
and beauty. Empowered
to be no less
than my best. Empowered to
do something
meaningful
that is bigger than me.
I
do it for me because I am worthy.
I do
it for my family because I love them.
I
do it for my community because our existence is inextricably connected. I am a Black woman empowered.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for those of you who said it out loud. If you said it on your own, I believe in affirmations that when we affirm verbally, that we confirm what it is that our heart wants and what our even if it's not our reality, we can talk ourselves into believing that is who I am. That's certainly who I'm going to be. So thank you for reading that with me. All right, so let's keep it moving. We already did lessons. I did it a little bit out of order. We are going to start today to talk about knowing your source of power. So yesterday we talked about the fact that you have to know yourself. Today we're going to get into, I call it heart work because this is a lot of the work I'm starting to do with a lot of my clients, particularly in this climate where COVID fatigue is real. And all of the things that are coming up for us are happening within this cloud that is COVID, what I call COVID land, right? It's a cloud. It's almost like the cancer, the air that we breathe is all within this context and it's shaking things up. Now, I believe that even in the midst of all of that, there is power in this moment. There is an opportunity to turn what can seem like obstacles into opportunity. If we can embrace our own power and if we stay connected to that source, and if we use this moment as an opportunity to really revision, what are we going to do on the other side of this? What are we going to do, not to just survive it, but to thrive through it? I've heard the term used called traumatic, what was it? Traumatic, something about post-traumatic syndrome. That's what I meant. And I heard that, but then I also heard somebody talk about like how you can use a situation that is traumatic and become better through it, right? So it's not just that you end up traumatized by it, but how does it make me better? How does it, you know, kind of put a diamond in the fire and it refines that stone, right? So what is it that's happening right now for you that's going to help you refine? And part of that, I believe, is knowing your source of power. You have to know where your power comes from in order to get stronger. Now, as we do that and we get ready to shift them again to what I'm calling heart work, I want to ask people to be real honest with yourself for just a minute and to ask you, are you burned out in this season? That could be a yes, I am. That could be no, I'm not. That could be a it's day to day, it's minute to minute. But in just a second, we are going to go into breakout groups to really talk about whether we are burned out in this season. And feel free, I'm going to take off share for just a second because we're going to go into groups in a minute. But I want to see if I'm seeing anything in the chat where people are resonating with that. Somebody said they cannot hear. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Kinda.
Everybody can be. She logged out and hopped back in.
Okay, all right.
It was on her end.
Here, all right. Somebody is saying, I'm reading your chat right now. I'm burned out over thinking about new ventures. Okay, I hear you, Kenya. Like new stuff in this space is really hard. Thinking about new things. Me doing this is new. This is the first time I've done this, and to do something new is always hard. But to do it when the world is kind of swiveling and moving all the time, that can burn you out. Others said, Crystal said she's burned out. Other people are resonating with this idea of like, yeah, I'm tired, right? I'm juggling a lot. There are no more boundaries in life right now, right? Work is life, and life is work, and work is home, and home is work, and like everything is starting to become kind of fuzzy in terms of what the boundaries are. So it would make sense, ladies, that if you are feeling that sense of fatigue or tiredness, how many of you knew that almost a year from now, we'd still be in COVID land? Anybody? Kenya said yes. Kimberly said yes. Okay, Christina, you all are the realists, right? I give you all kinds of props because I'm going to tell you on March 13th, when my kids came home, you could not have told me in going into February 2021, they would still be at home doing remote learning. That was not my vision, my idea. I did not have any idea of that. And so what has happened is we've gotten thrown into a situation that we were not prepared to kind of grapple with. And that can be tiring in and of itself. I just want to, acknowledge that that is tiring. And what I want you to do in your breakout groups is talk about why you're burned out. And it may not have anything to do with COVID at all, right? Maybe it's just work is just really hard right now, or my relationship, or whatever it might be. I want you to just have an honest moment, a heart moment with yourself, because it is okay to be tired. It is okay to not be okay, as my friend Jillian Lene says. If you look in your workbook and you're looking for a place to get some of your thoughts out, I want to reference, somebody in the feedback survey said, let's do more with the workbook. So I wanted to reference it. One of the pages on page 10 is about that idea that it's okay to be tired. So if you want to write it out instead of just talk it out, you can do that on page 10 of the workbook if you have that. And I'm going to ask Kalia if she could put the link to the workbook in case anybody hasn't received it or hasn't downloaded it yet. We'll put that in the chat for you. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to breakout groups. Let's see. We're at 53 people. So I'm going to put us in about 10 different groups. You're going to have about 10 minutes to talk. So it's not a long time, but I want you to get real comfortable with talking, have the moment to talk about, like, am I feeling tired and what is the source of that? Okay. All right. Let's see, we're gonna create rooms. Everybody's going to be in a room. It's gonna be about 5 or 6 people in every room. And I think we are ready to go. All right, 10 minutes will mean about 6:30, I'll say 6:34, we'll bring you all back, okay? All right. Let's see if anybody is in. Recording again. I would love to hear a couple of people who would like to share about what, it was them, or if maybe there was a theme that came out of your group about how people are feeling. Are you feeling burdened, tired, fatigued? And if so, what is the pattern of the nature of that? All right. Yes, I've got, help me pronounce your name. Is that Kadaje?
Khadijah.
Oh, Khadijah. Okay, I completely did not say that correctly, but I'm going to write it down phonetically so I get it right. Khadijah, would you please share with us?
No, you're perfectly fine. So it was a consensus in my group of us necessarily not feeling like that now in the moment, but we've had moments of feeling like we're drained due to lack of like having to having to do so much and not necessarily having an outlet, having gone through different things through the pandemic, like loss of job and all these different things. And so we said that we didn't feel it in a moment, but we have experienced it. And then we also talked about like ways to get through it. Figuring out ways to not make us feel drained or not allow the pandemic and this state of time to overcome us.
Okay. All right. And it makes sense that, you know, maybe we're not always down, but we're doing so much, we're carrying so much. Has anybody ever felt that? I feel like some of this is the roller coaster of the ride, right? Because you might have a really high moment and then before you know it, something else happens and it just hasn't been consistently all up or all down. It's been very dynamic. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the fatigue and the sense of tired. And maybe because we're in community together, we're having a moment where we're feeling really good. But we've had down moments and that is okay. I want you all to know it's okay to not be okay in those moments, right? It's just about how we respond to them. It's going to help us get through. Let's see. I feel like somebody said there wasn't enough time. I know those are so hard. If I know we could have talked about this for a long time. And it is hard, especially if you're struggling with something, to do that in quick moment. So I will keep that in mind. So maybe this is a question where we need to kind of be able to expand that a little bit. Let's see, what else? Did anyone else say that they wanted to share, or is there anybody who would like to come off mute and share the way that Khadijah also shared about what they were experiencing? Anybody?
I'll share.
Okay, thanks, Michelle.
Okay, thank you. We discussed, first of all, we had some ladies who are responsible for leading and guiding and helping other people to manage their social emotional balance. And so we discussed how sometimes, you know, that helps you to develop a plan or a diversion or a strategy, whatever you want to call it. And how also they carved out a space in their home to be their me time, because home used to be your solace, but not everybody there.
Right.
And then you just carve out a space in your home so that you can still just take a moment for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you have a space in your home, Michelle, that is that kind of space for you, a private spot?
Absolutely. There, when we bought the new house, that was a part of the requirements.
Absolutely, I love that. I have learned the beauty of, you know, we've all watched the commercial, the She Shed, and we've all gotten a quick kick out of it, you know, watching them talk about the insurance. But I have a mentor, and her daughter happens to be on the phone call, so she knows who I'm talking about. Is she has a She Shed, and it is downtown, and they live out in the burbs, right? And so she spends that time there, like just enjoying her space. And I was like, you know what? I aspire to be able to make enough money that I can have a place that I could just go. And I can go and he can have his space when my kids are gone and they can have their space and mama can just have some peace. And I don't have that right now, but I know God is going to do it. I'm praying on that because sometimes you just need your physical space to be quiet so you can hear yourself for sure and just be. Very good. Anybody, thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. And I'm so glad, sis, that you have your space in your house. May it forever stay sacred. Let's see. Anyone else before we go on what we might be struggling with or burdened with and what's making that difficult? All right. Well, hopefully you had an opportunity to really share that, or to, if not, be able to share it verbally because maybe there wasn't enough time, but to think about it. And again, I just remind you that it is okay to have that moment where you recognize like, yeah, I'm tired, I'm okay. And I don't feel like the world often gives us the space to be able to give ourselves grace and say, you know what, I'm tired and I need to pause, or I'm tired and I need to rest and I need to recover. We've all heard that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Well, I'm going to try to encourage us to go beyond just not being empty, because there's something about not pouring from an empty cup that suggests to me that you should just have a little bit. Anybody understand what I mean? Like if I'm not empty, it's like in your gas tank. If your gas tank isn't on E, but it's on like a fourth of a tank, you're close to E, and you're just trying to stay in that space between I'm not at a fourth, but I'm not at E, and you're just kind of riding. My girlfriend used to call it, we riding on excitement, right? That's what the E meant. But we can't just be in a place where we're just pouring just enough, like we're pouring out, but we have just enough. We want to get to a place where we're beyond that, right? Where we are in a place where we're pouring from a place of abundance. And somebody gave me that and put that in my spirit. And I've just been thinking carefully about what does it mean in life to pour, not just from a place of I got just enough to give you, but I'm pouring from my overflow. I'm pouring out, I'm full, and I'm pouring out the extra. Now, I know that that's a high bar, and it's not even one that I can say that I have mastered. So I am not here to say that as an expert, but that is what I aspire to. I want to work to a place where when I'm pouring out, I'm already full, and my pouring out doesn't deplete me back down to E. That is my goal. And I would hope that that would be the goal for you all as well. What I want to pause here to ask you is, what is the source of power? I heard Michelle say that part of hers is I need space. I need quiet space. I need my own room. I want to ask you, what is it that gives you that sense of power up? Like the same way you plug in your phone and it allows you to power up, right? What is it that allows you to do that? And I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to put another poll up here. All right. So this question is kind of based on, what is your source of power that helps you to recharge? Is it rest? You need to do kind of personal, professional development sometimes? Is it movies, concerts? I've kind of bundled a couple of these things because maybe it's one or all or something like that. But give us a sense of what you do in order to recharge.
So we can only pick one?
I want you to pick one for now. Yeah, there may be many. There may be many, and I appreciate that. I may change that next time when we do the poll, but I want to get a sense of kind of what you lean into maybe first. And I'm hoping there are options here for you to be able to choose. It looks like we've got people who are really into creativity and art, music, dance, writing, that kind of thing. We've got people who use their spiritual practices as rejuvenating. Thank God for rest. I think my first one might be prayer, but my second one would be I like to sleep, y'all. I'm a sleeper. Don't mess with me when I'm asleep either. I'm a little mean about it. All right, so let me show you what our results were. And it looks like spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, that those were first. And then recreation, so exercise, fun, doing something that makes you laugh. Laughter certainly recharges. I had a laugh about my dog yesterday. And right before I came in to meet with you all, I just felt so high because I was on 10 laughing at my little puppy. So that laughter and that joy certainly goes a long way. Rest. And then also, again, the creativity and art. So you all doing a lot of things. What is it? This time I'm going to ask you all to talk a little bit. What is it about these activities that give you energy? Like, why do they work for you? If you picked rest, if you picked exercise, what is it that gives you that pump that allows you to say, okay, now I'm full. I can now go out and do what I need to do in the world. Anybody like to share?
This is Lisa Lee. I'll share. I picked exercise, and I think it's because when I exercise, it's the only time where I don't multitask. I'm only thinking about exercising.
Yep.
So it's relaxing to me in that regard.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. It's hard to kind of like exercise and be working or folding clothes while you're exercising unless you're standing in place, which is probably not the greatest exercise, right? So I love that. And I love that you've been able to identify, Lisa, that that's the thing that kind of gets me because I can focus. It's the mindfulness of being in that particular space. Let's see. What'd you say, Ayana? For me, I'm not thinking when I'm resting. Mm-hmm. Has anybody ever heard of the nap ministry in AP? Have you seen that on Facebook? I'm going to put that in the chat box because I want you all to look it up. This is my sister, Trisha. She's a Chicagoan. She's right now in Georgia. She has a nap ministry, which is about basically the concept that napping is productivity, right? And that we need to denounce this idea of go, go, go and grind mode and move, move, move. And instead, there are moments that we just need to rest. And she literally does events where she'll rent out a space. People bring their mats. I've gone to them. You bring your mat or you bring your sleeping bag. You bring your pillow. She does readings. She puts on soft jazz or kind of music. She'll read a poem or something, and people literally come and they nap in community for like 40 minutes. We just let, and if you can't nap, you rest your mind as much as you can. It was the most peaceful experience. I'm not really into yoga and things like that, but it was so peaceful to just know that the purpose of being in that moment was so that I could sleep. Now, of course, I love to sleep, so it was very powerful for me for that reason, right? But I also think that sometimes we have this idea that rest means I'm not doing anything. But how about when you take your phone and you plug it in and you don't use it overnight? Is it not doing anything? Or is it actually recharging? It is actually a productive thing to sleep. So if you are not getting enough of it, I'm going to encourage you to do so. I'm going to put, I think it's napministry.com. It might be .org. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's the Nap Ministry. I'm putting it in the chat right now. So I really want you all to think about what are those activities that give you energy so you can pull from a place of overflow. I want somebody else to answer this question. What would be different if you decided to prioritize the activities that you just saw on the screen or the things that get you going if your thing wasn't there? What would be different in your life? What might be, what would change? Anybody?
I think for me, all of these where you talk about your source of power is self-care too. And I think if you prioritize self-care, then you can be present for other people. Mm-hmm. And you can't help somebody else if you don't help yourself and if you don't re-energize.
Yeah.
So for me, last year, that was important that I make self-care a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have used self-care in a lot of different ways. It's become, I'm usually a little bit concerned when we use the term so much that it becomes cliche, but I believe that, Jermaine, and I believe in the idea of self-care. I just think we need to stretch the definition. It's not spa days and nails and all of those things. It is figuring out what's the source that's going to help me to feel that sense of full, feeling full, right? And when I'm in that place, right, I can give more to others and I can be my best self. So for some people, they think of it in the sense of like, I don't have time for self-care. All these people need me, blah, 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 blah. I want you to flip that on its head. If you don't give your time for self-care, you will not be available for them. It will become very real for you that if you don't. So you say that it's selfish. I feel selfish when I do these things for me and I get away and I have my husband do and take care of the kids or I drop them off at their dad's house or whatever, or whatever it might be. But the reality is if you don't do it, that doesn't help them either because you can't be your best self. You'll be tight, you'll be upset, you'll be unhealthy, and that's not good. So I actually think that self-care is not selfish, it's actually selfless.
You know how to use it?
Right. And it's that idea of like, I'm giving to myself so that I can give to others. And to not do it for me is selfish. And that is a lesson I am trying to take in every single day. I'm reading some of the chat. Someone said, I decided to be selfish and put me first. And it was the best year of my life, Michelle said. Michelle, can you come off mute and tell us about that? We need to understand this journey. Because I'm on it. I'm not there. I'm working on it.
Yes. 2019, I turned 50. So at the end of 2018, I joined a program to basically teach you how to take care of yourself physically, how to eat better. I knew my daughter was graduating out of high school the same year that I was turning 50. She was going off to college. My son had plans of where he was going to go. So I felt it's time for me to take care of me. I've taken care of everyone else. So I got real heavy. I got on a schedule of getting up every morning and making my way to work out between 5:10, either 5:10 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, go home, shower, get my breakfast and lunch and everything together, go to work, do my job, come home, and then prepare myself for the next day. So 2019, I lost over 100 pounds. I felt the best that I have felt in my adult life. And then towards the end of 2019,
Shout out.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Congratulations. Right. Yes.
Even before COVID hit, then I started to experience deaths. And it was like it knocked the wind out of me. And then trying to get that breath back to gather that wind, then COVID hit. So it's just like back to back. But I'm going back. I want that journey back of putting me first. And I said, I really didn't care how selfish it seemed to anybody else or how anyone else perceived it. It was what worked for me. It was the best thing for me because I was basically taking care of me at that point.
Absolutely. Well, that's such an awesome testimony, Michelle. Thank you for sharing it. Congratulations. And if you got to get back there, the beauty is, you've been there.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm one of those people that believes one of my superpowers is what I call, context. If you've taken the Strength Finders exam, we'll talk a little bit about it tomorrow. But one of those strengths is context, which is I have to look backwards to figure out where I'm going. And if I'm standing in your shoes and I'm looking backwards and I was like, I did it before, then I know I can do it again. If I have to do it, if I have to dig deep, if I have to search myself, I can get right back to that self-care regimen that was giving me life. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing. That edifies all of us, and it's so important that we do share. I'm gonna take your lead on that, Michelle, and share with you all that for me, this is very personal. In the sense that what I have experienced in this last year during COVID and everything else. But on December 19, 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was one of those out of the blue, like I knew I needed to get a mammogram. I had known for some months that I was feeling something, but I had never felt anything before. And I was like, I'm fine. I felt okay, maybe a little tired, fatigued, but I didn't think about it. I was like, and I put it off. And from the time that I first felt it to the time that I actually discovered, like, okay, this is serious enough. And my husband was like, you need to get that checked. I think it grew, it spread, it metastasized, it grew. So by the time I got it checked and actually went through all of the tests on December 19th and finished, I was at stage 3 with a HER2 positive diagnosis. And that will change your perspective, number one, on the value and the importance of life, but also you start going back in your Rolodex of like, am I taking care of me? Because if I am not taking care of me, no one clearly was stopping to say, hey, Erica, you need to probably take a break. You look a little tired, or you're gaining some weight, or, except for maybe my mama, who was probably like, girl, what's going on? But for the most part, people aren't stopping their day to make sure that you're taking care of you, even the people who love you, because they're trying to maintain. It is your responsibility to take care of you. And the circumstances or the consequences, I should say, of not doing so are far greater than just, oh, I gotta take a break. It accumulates, and it can be very physical. We are number one in terms of heart disease, in terms of breast cancer. African American women is the highest like percentage of African American who have breast cancer. It's the highest, you know, it's the cancer that we have the most of. Like, we got to do something about this. I was shocked. I don't know if anybody else on the call has been through that. I was shocked at the number of stories that I heard from people who were like, yeah, I've been through that too, or my mama, my grandmama, my sister, my, you know, whatever. I don't think that is just, you know, like, I don't think it's inconsequential to see this pattern. And a lot of it, I believe, is about the stresses that we allow to accumulate. And because we're taking care of everybody else, we're not taking care of us. This is personal for me. So I can go through all of that and say that this year was a whole idea of like, I'm gonna choose joy. I'm gonna make it through this experience, what I did. And on December 21st of 2020, I got a report back that my mammogram came back clean. And after chemo, radiation, and surgery, I am cancer free, and I am a walking miracle because of it. Thank you.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
God is good. I walk in every day. I am a walking miracle. But I say that to say, I don't want anybody else to have to walk that road if you can avoid it. And part of that, I know in my case, part of that started with saying, wait a minute, Erica, you have to do better taking care of you. Because yes, your husband loves you, but if you gonna stay up late and cook and do all of the blah, 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 and not take care of you, he's gonna be like, well, I guess that's just what she wants to do. Right? That's what, I mean, and that's no affront to him. That's just how human nature is. That's my responsibility. And each one of you have to do your part in that. And I so appreciate the comments in the chat. I share my story because I don't want to be the person that has to watch somebody else go through something if they could avoid it. So I encourage you, number one, just from a breast cancer perspective, please get that test. Please go get your regular mammograms. They're so important. But whatever other health issues or whatever other things that you need to take care of you, it is essential. It is not an option. It is an essential necessity for you to be able to do that. And that is your responsibility. That's lesson number 2 of today, of finding your source of power. All right. Does anybody else have any? I want to stop and take a breath for myself. Is there anybody else that would like to share either their testimony, we heard from Michelle and what she went through. You've all heard from me. Anyone else that wants to share their journey of finding their source of power and harnessing that and being able to use that as a power to move them through? Anybody? I don't want to miss an opportunity for somebody else to share in case there was anybody else that wanted to do so. All right.
I just wanted to quickly say that, and I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, so sending you love and warm hugs. But I put in the chat that one of the greatest lessons I learned during that time was that someone else loving me does not relieve me from the responsibility of loving myself.
Oh, that's I'm putting that in tweet. That okay.
And you have to welcome the work of loving yourself, because sometimes that's work that we willingly want to put off on somebody else. We are looking for somebody else to put that off on, and you have to welcome the work of loving yourself. And for me, even through COVID and everything else, I'll give an example of how it showed up in even small ways. When I'm upset, I can go to 100. I will own that about myself. I can go from 0 to 100. And it, up until COVID, I was also with my partner, I was like, he knows how to calm me down. He knows the words to say, he knows how to calm me down. And it wasn't until we got into COVID, I was like, yeah, you really don't, do you? It was just before we had other things to do and focus on. And so it didn't take much to get me to refocus. But now that we stuck in this space, you don't know how to calm me down because I don't know how to calm me down. If I can say I can go from 0 to 100, say it with my chest, what I'm admitting to is I don't even know what it takes to get me into a softer, more manageable space. I haven't done that work with myself. And so there's no way for me to communicate to you how to do that. There's no way for me to tell you how to love me if I haven't figured out the things that make me feel honored and calm and open and things like that. And so even in small ways, it started to show up that I hadn't done as much work as I thought I had done about just loving myself. And I had gone into, whenever I approached the idea of self-care before that, it was always with the mentality of, like we said, we fill up our cup so that we can be present for other people. So it was always with the thought of give it away. And I think, especially with Black women, that's where we're taught that whatever you do, the goal is always so that you can be better at giving it away. Mm. And so part of loving myself is also I give myself self-care because I'm worth it, because I deserve it. Yeah. Period. Giving it away or being able to show up better for other people, that's a byproduct. It's not my goal. As much as I would love to be there for everybody, I can't. And so the people that I can be there for and show up for, that is a byproduct. But I'm giving to myself because I deserve to give to myself. Just like I look at my mother and I'm like, she deserves to give more to herself. She deserves this time. She look at any other woman, I have to look at myself and say, I do this because I deserve it. The fact that I'm also able to show up for other people in the best way possible is a byproduct of that, and that's great. But I think for Black women, we have to actively tell ourselves, do this simply because you're worth it, because you deserve it, because someone else being able to love you or communicate with you does not relieve you of the work of loving yourself. You need to be open to that and walk into that with a whole heart and not with the objective of giving it to somebody else when you're done. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And that is your choice. Should you decide to give it, that is your choice. But I love that you put that out there. It doesn't absolve us. That is our responsibility. And absolutely, like it's a hard stop to say, I am worthy, period. Not I am worthy because blah, blah, blah. I am worthy, unless you're going to say I'm worthy because I live or because I'm a child of God. But anything other than that, you are worthy, period. And once you say that, then you can say to yourself, given that I am worthy, what do I need to be able to do to take care of me, right? I'm precious. And there's another question that I had on one of these slides, we may not get to it, but was like, what would you tell your daughter? What would you tell your cousin, a young version of yourself, right? That's the thing you need to be telling yourself as well. And I say these things fully acknowledging that even though I sit in a role of people come to me for advice and wisdom and whatever, I fully acknowledge to my clients that are going through this, I am doing this and trying to make a conscious effort of it every day, because I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not also trying to do. But it is something that we consistently have to do, ladies. And frankly, historically, the narrative is not only that Black women, that we're not worthy, but that our responsibility is to carry the whole world on our shoulders, right? And what I love is the fact that our ancestors had to carry that burden, but we don't. Sometimes we jump in fights that we don't have to carry because we still have this mentality of put it on our shoulders, we got you. And sometimes that's required, or sometimes we feel like we want to, but that's our choice to do that. And to honor the people who died where they didn't have a choice, I'm choosing, because I can choose, to take care of me in a way that maybe my great-great-grandmother or great-great-great-grandfather or whatever was unable to. And to me, that is just as important, to honor their sacrifice. I'm going to take care of me because they were doing that for us. I told you I look backward to figure out where I'm going. That's part of that. All right. Thank you so much. Is that Akande? Am I saying that name right? Okay. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was just absolutely beautiful. And I see a couple people, just putting in the chat, if you are, experiencing some kind of health something or some kind of diagnosis or some kind of testing or whatever, just know that I am praying for you. Everybody on this call, know I pray before I get on this call, I pray when I get after, because this right here is an answer to my prayer that I would be able to touch women in a positive way.
And so know that you are in my prayers as we're praying about your health, and wherever you are in this journey, know that you are covered in that way. Anybody else before we get ready to go to the next part? I do want to get to the next part because the next part is a little bit more about your fulfillment at work. We've been talking about the self-care piece, but I want to shift a little bit. This is intentionally kind of shifting the energy a little bit to talk not just about the self-care piece, but to talk about, we talked about getting in that place of being able to pour out if we choose to pour out from a place of overflow. But the way that you do that is you got to stay charged. You can get charged, but then you got to stay charged. And really that is about finding, I'm going to speak specifically about work because a lot of you were drawn to this experience, not just about kind of you as a person and what you were doing in your personal life, but you were thinking also that this is an experience that's going to help you grow professionally. So I want to leave you with some wisdom about that. The way that you stay charged and maintain the energy and the whatever you need to be able to move forward in your, particularly in your work. There's 3 things that have to happen in order for you to be fulfilled in your work. And I want you to try to do think about where are you relative to these things in your role right now. There's 3 things that are going to help you be fulfilled in work. Number 1, you got to have really strong you have to have good relationships, right? And especially for women, this is important. We are relationship driven. If the relationships with our boss, the people we work with, or the people that we work for are not in a good place, we're going to struggle. And there's going to be a tension there. So I want you to pay attention to your relationships. Also, there's impact. Impact is like, am I doing something meaningful? Right? Am I doing something that's helping to change or solve something? Does it mean something? Because once we get to that point where I'm just making widgets and then the widgets get made and then they get thrown off to the side and nothing happens to them, it's not changing anything, we start to lose interest. We get bored. We start to think like, there's got to be life that's better than this. And a tension develops when we're not making the kind of impact. And we're going to talk about that more deeply in a second. The last one is around growth. Anything that doesn't grow, what happens to it? Think of a plant. When a plant it dies, right? You are no different as a living being. If you are not growing, stretching, learning, evolving, eventually not your physical body, but your spirit and your focus and all of that, you will begin to die inside because you're like, I can do this in my sleep. I'm bored. I don't need this anymore. Like, I need something new. I need to be stimulated. So if you are not growing in your role, that is going to have something to do with your level of fulfillment. Relationships, impact, growth. Now, I want you, given that, I'm going to talk about impact in a little bit, but there is an assessment for you all that you can do. I'm going to have Khalid put it. I don't want you to necessarily do it right now, but I do want to ask this question. Do you feel fulfilled in your relationships, in your impact, in your growth? And this one, I think you should be able to pick yes, 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 if all 3 of them are true. Tell me if that's true though. Okay. I'm really curious to see kind of where we are. We've got 51 people on the thing, so I'm waiting for you all to kind of log in. Think about it. Do my relationships feel fulfilling? My impact, does that feel fulfilling? My growth. And if the answer is no, don't, let's just, and I realize that I'm creating a dichotomy because some is like, yeah, kind of. I didn't put that in there. I just said yes or no, but that's of course, for effect. All right. Anybody else want to leave it up for another 10 seconds? Do you feel fulfilled in relationships, impact, growth? All right. All right. So not everybody answered, and that's okay. But it looks like, and there's no winner here. It looks like there's a winner, but it looks like most of us are more fulfilled in our relationships, which is good. Less of us are fulfilled in our impact and growth. And that's okay. But still, our numbers are actually pretty decent. Like we're trending towards the positive, which is great. Here's what I want to talk about is in terms of impact. And on this note, I'm going to actually take this off of share. Let's talk about impact. Who does feel like they're making an impact at work? Anybody put the hand up? Maybe put the little, what do you call it? The little hand thing. Who feels like they're making an impact? Okay, I see Asia. I see Kenya. Who else? I see Malia. All right, Christina. Okay, all right, so I see some thumbs up. That's good. Let's see. Who would like to share with us why they're feeling that sense of impact at work? Anybody? I want to hear it.
Hi, it's Candace.
Okay, Candace, tell us why.
I walked away. So I'll backtrack. I'm a 17-year colon cancer survivor, and
Amen.
I was diagnosed, thank you, in 2003. When I was diagnosed in 2003, there weren't any brown faces. I was 35, a single mom of 5 children, bus driver for CTA, and wound up homeless fighting cancer with my 5 children.
My God.
As a result of that experience, I tried to commit suicide, but that wasn't successful. And I made a promise to God when I was in the psych ward to, if I survived, my youngest was 4 at the time. If I survived, I would do everything I could to raise awareness of colorectal cancer in my community and everybody that I knew. And I didn't know how I was going to do that. I just knew that I made a promise and I knew that I was going to do it. I couldn't go back to work. I couldn't drive a bus anymore. I was bowel incontinent because I had my large intestine removed. And every corner I turned, it was a pushback, one after another. And then finally, I got hired at another job and I worked that job for 10 years, but I had that calling, my fulfillment of the promise that I made to God was nagging at me. But my relationships with the friends that I had, they would mourn with me, but they wouldn't celebrate me. And so I knew that I had to step back from people because I could not do what I needed to do because of the people that I had surrounding me. And so I made a decision, as painful as it was, that if you can't celebrate me, no matter how small it is, but you'll stand around me and mourn, you're like crows. I don't need any crows. I don't need death around me. I've already had that experience. I need somebody to fulfill me and fill me with life and affirmations. And so I stepped away from those friends and I started connecting with other women and other survivors that lifted me up and encouraged me to live. And that fed my soul so that I could continue to do the work that God and I pact. We made a pact. And so all I wanted to do was see that 4-year-old turn 18. She's 22 as of January 18th. I started a nonprofit 5 years ago that raises awareness of colorectal cancer in minority and medically underserved communities. And we did it with no funding. And we continue to do it and we build partnerships. And then what I do is I take that and I feed it to other people that are trying to survive this disease. But we can't do that if we are surrounded by crows. And so we have to remember that we have to step away from crows. We have to step away from those that take from us. If they won't celebrate you, but they'll mourn with you, that's a problem. And so when I removed myself from that and put myself in a space, and I prayed every time I did it, God kept putting people in my space that would reach out to me and bring me along. And now I'm in spaces, where it said, well, God says, I will put you before great men. That's exactly what he's done.
Indeed. That is so powerful. Wow. And I know we heard a little bit about the foundation, but now we hear the whole story, right? The beginning to the end, about the foundation and the work that you're doing on behalf of other survivors and folks that are experiencing colorectal cancer. Like, what an amazing, powerful testimony. And clearly the impact that you're making, Candace, is huge. Let me ask you this, and I want to ask, first of all, you added a layer, which is like, did you all hear that? The layer of get away from people who are there to not to celebrate you. I hope that I heard somebody say you were stepping on my toes. I'm hoping your toes hurt right now enough for you to get out the way and get away from those kind of people. So thank you for Candace for offering that. Let me ask you this, because we're talking about work in terms of fulfillment. One of the things that is important in terms of impact is there's a level of impact for each of you that is important that may not be the same for everybody. And let me explain what I mean. When you were doing your other job, Candace, what were you doing before?
I was a bus driver for CTA.
You were a bus driver for CTA. Okay. All right. And then you moved from that and you did another job for 10 years. Where was that?
It was at FedEx. I was a customer service specialist.
Okay. Customer service specialist. All right. So in both cases, you were in organizations, you were a person that was responsible for producing or serving others as part of a company.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So when you think about the level of impact that you want to have, there are 3 different levels of impact that we can have, folks. One is individual, right? I don't know how many people are like this. This is me, Candace, where I feel like I change the world one person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
If you get me in a room with one person, I'm going to figure out their story, what they need, individualize that. We're going to talk about their thing. And one person at a time, they are going to find transformation. And then they might go out and change a larger piece of society of the world. But that's how my mind works. There's another level of impact for some of us that is like, I want to change the world. And I believe that changing whatever my world, my community is, happens at the organizational level. Where my organization, right, is a building block, and I don't necessarily want to change it just one person at a time. I don't necessarily want to change the big system. I want to use this organization to make an indentation. And then for others of us, they want to change large scale systems. They're like, you know what, not little, but the one-on-one time is cool. The organization is great, but I want to change the big system. And I'm wondering, Candace, and as you think about the level of impact that you are making right now that feels right for you, which one of those is it, individual, team, or macro level kind of big system that you feel like you're making an impact in?
It's a matter of fact, it's all 3, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because when I started, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to do something. I knew it was in my heart, and in my heart, like I said, when I was diagnosed with colon cancer, there weren't any brown faces. Every time you research it, was somebody died from colon cancer. So I started with somebody needed to see me. So that meant one person saw me. That one person heard my story. That's one person, that's one life I saved.
So you started at one-on-one, that felt right. But did that feel sufficient? Like, did you know that it was going to get better than you just talking to individuals?
I had in my spirit that eventually, I didn't know how. I had the vision, but I just didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know what the mechanism was going to be.
Okay.
And I didn't know how soon.
Okay. All right. So you didn't know how, but you got to that. You were doing the one-on-one work and you were like, it's bigger than this.
Yes.
And then you moved to a place where you created an organization. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So you created this organization, and that organization probably still does some of that one-on-one work, right? With patients and advocating for their individuals. Do you still feel like the impact that you're making is also meant to kind of change systems, policies, laws, things like that? Are you looking in that direction, or are you still in the place where you're like, I'm going to use my organization to serve the people and stay in the middle? And there's no judgment on either. All 3 are required. So I'm not sure, there's no judgment and no better or right.
Oh no, I have done all 3. I have done all 3. I have gone to DC. I'm doing policy work. I have gone to London as of during the time of COVID, before we knew COVID was here, and shared the story about how they can engage their communities of color to talk about colorectal cancer. And I am now in the institutions, and when I say institutions, the medical institutions, challenging research to know history of research before they continue to do engagement of medical, of communities of color to understand why we push back against research. And so I'm challenging them to change their processes so that they can do better when treating us.
Okay. All right. So Candace is in that sweet spot where all of the work that she and her organization does kind of touches all levels, which is amazing and which is great. What I think is interesting though is you kept pressing, because I'm guessing that something in you kept saying it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. And so you kept aspiring. But let me tell you, Candace, everybody, I want you all to know on the call, everybody doesn't necessarily aspire to change the macro level system.
Oh, and let me say this.
Yeah,
that really was not my, that was God's doing. I said I was going to tell everybody about colon cancer. That's what I said. I was very
right. And he expanded
I didn't say I was going to go to DC. I didn't say I was going to go to London. I didn't say I was going to go challenge the institutions of research and all that. I said I was going to tell folks about colon cancer.
Right. And you're being obedient, and he is using you in that way. So the reason that I'm asking you this, Candace, and this is where I want other people to kind of think about you, where you are in terms of impact and what's the entry level for you as you think about your career choices, you think about where you want to go. You need to know like where's your sweet spot.
Yeah.
And the reason that it matters is because there's going to become a time where you're going to be doing something and somebody is going to be challenging you to move to a place of impact that doesn't feel like you. And you're going to have to know why it is that it doesn't feel right. So let me give you an example. I'll use myself. I was working at an organization that was doing one-on-one coaching stuff. I think I told you all this yesterday, right? And at the point where the organization started to split and go to strategy, Erica was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me because I don't see myself in it. Because I knew that I was a person that liked the one-on-one time, it was in that moment where I could say, that work isn't for me, but this work over here is. Has anyone ever had that kind of cross in the road where you're like, something about that doesn't feel right? Now, mind you, my whole career was supposed to be about changing the system. My mom knows. I was like, I'm going to be a Supreme Court justice, or I'm going to be a public servant, or it was always supposed to be, because I was told that bigger was better. Not by necessarily my mom, but people would always say more is better. So much is given, much is required. Go change the whole system, Erica. Don't just change one. But what I realized is that wasn't my calling. So the way that I change the world now is now by working with small and individual groups and let them get transformation, and then they go out and they change the world. Mm-hmm. Some of you are experiencing a moment where you don't quite know why you're not feeling the impact, but I want to challenge you to think about, am I at the right level of impact that's going to suit me? Mm-hmm. Ask yourself that question. Because if you can ask that question where there is tension around there, you might be in the wrong place. And I don't mean the wrong organization. I just mean, is there a level of impact that you're not really getting to? And maybe there's some refinement or some questions or some additional kind of stretching that you can do for yourself that'll allow you to get to that. If you're in an organization and you want to make macro level change, what work can you do that's going to allow you to do that? Right? Or if you're doing macro level change, but you know what? I really feel like the real magic happens at the organizational level. Like I'm doing this state level school reform stuff, but really I know that the work I really want to do happens at the school level. Then I need to figure out kind of what shifts can I make that will allow me to get to that building block. And I'm not telling you to go jump ship and go just, oh, now I got to go find another job. I'm asking you to ask yourself the question. All right, I'm going to pause and see if anybody else has questions, because I'm talking not too much. I'm hoping that the silence is that you're thinking.
May I,
yeah,
Erica?
Sure. Jump in.
So I don't have a question, but I have an insight, because I have been a stay-at-home mom for 15 years and jumped back into teaching online, which was my professional background. After all of this hit, and I was getting emails and Facebook messages from friends about, hey, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do with my kids. And so I explored some options for teaching online. And I think that one thing that I have realized is that for me, I am much more of a one-on-one kind of person. I thought that I was macro, but I really am more of a one-on-one. And I know that because some of the classes that I teach on race and identity and Black history are giving me so much life in terms of how I move through this current process. So, right, my family does not live in the United States. We're not going back to the United States anytime soon. And it's a very difficult decision that we made, but um, but when I am involved in these interactions with students in my class, I realize that there is hope, right? Even though, like I say all the time, Erica knows because she reads my Facebook posts, but I say all of the time that I just don't understand how everybody is so optimistic. Y'all are so cheery and happy and everything everything seems to be going so well. And I am over here petrified, and I I don't want to return to that space with my boys. And but I realized that what I do want is to be able to educate young people about the things that really matter, right? Um, so I think I say that just to say that for me, I have learned that it's not about the scale, like you're saying, right? There's a place for everyone. We all have a place. And for me, I get life from sharing history and education with young people and allowing them the space to talk about identity and bias and history. And they give me life because they're thoughtful and they're willing to go there in a way that I can't even get some of my adult friends to go there, quite frankly. And so I'm understanding that I'm much more comfortable now, recognizing that it doesn't matter how, whether it's macro or micro, it just matters that it serves me and I feel like it serves them, and that is what's important. And yeah, so that really resonates with me, and I thank you for bringing that up as a talking point.
Yeah, I thank you for that, Christina, again for sharing yourself, for Candace as well. I think what I love it is, it really is asking myself the question, right? Because some of us have heard from people again who love us, who care, or who know us, and it's always bigger is better, or like this idea. But think of it in the concept of like there's no difference in merit between the doctor that serves one-on-one and the person who creates the healthcare bill that helps service a million, or the person who is a hospital administrator at the hospital and make sure that the hospital is running, well for everyone who's being served. It's just a different level of impact. And I picked this one only because I feel like it's the one that I could get into depth enough so that people could see themselves in that, right? There's also the question around kind of fulfillment as it relates to relationships and growth, and we won't have time to talk about them today, but it's about asking yourself the question, am I feeling fulfilled relative to those three things? And if not, I need to start to question and ask myself, why not? And how can I challenge myself to think about that? I'm gonna move us towards the end here because we're about to go. I'm giving away prizes, and I want to make sure that I honor people's time as we do that. We've learned a lot, and I hope you all have taken in the different lessons that come through. And I wonder if you could just quickly, I know you're gonna put it on the survey, but put in the chat, like, what are you taking away? What are you thinking about as you're exiting class today? And what do you maybe want to hear from even more that maybe stretch this conversation tomorrow? Tomorrow's conversation is about strengths, right? Some of you came, and I've seen it in the chat from yesterday and also in your comments when you joined the Facebook page. People have said, like, I don't know what my strengths are, and I want to know what they are and what they mean. So we're going to talk about them and how you get to a place where you can understand them. I encourage you to grab the reflections in the workbook and use that as a guide. The writing is really helpful. And then we're going to put, Khalid in just a second is going to put the exit survey in the chat box. I so appreciate your insights because it's really going to help me shape tomorrow, which is our last day. And on tomorrow, I'm also going to be sharing with you, for those of you who are coming out of this saying like, oh, this is really great. I get a better sense of what coaching is about and the questions that Erica asked are working for me. I'd like to have more. I'm going to share with you a couple of different packages that I'm doing. Some of them, one of them is particularly special for this particular group. And I want to invite you to consider joining us in that. So I will share that tomorrow. What I want to do though, and our last thing is I want to do some giveaways. I love gifts. I love giving stuff away. I'm going to give away 2 more coaching sessions today, but I am also going to give away a special gift. I'm really going to call Morgan my little sister. I adore her. She's super talented and bright and brilliant, but she's created this product called Molit Candles. And I'm going to have Morgan, even though we're at 7:30, I'm going to have her come off mute and tell you a little bit about her product. I am giving away a free handcrafted candle from Morgan. But as I am talking about that, I'm going to stop share. Morgan, where are you? You out there?
I'm here. Can you see me?
I can. Go right ahead, friend.
All right. So hello, everyone. Erica was actually my coach. She is my Spelman sister and so much more. But in our coaching, she asked me to find my superpower. And one of my superpowers has been to see things differently and to see things beyond what they are traditionally. So I use that superpower coupled with my daily ritual of coming back to myself by way of lighting a candle to create my business known as Molit Candles. And so we actually use recycle liquor and wine bottles and turn them into handcrafted, one-of-a-kind soy candles. And so as Erica said, she's giving away a candle today. And I thought that this one, I don't know if you guys could see it, would be really special, but it is cut from a Black girl. And I fill my candles with scents, which I call vibes. This is filled with the ascension vibe. So as we are magical in our own way and seek to ascend to new levels and make sure that we practice coming back to ourselves and our power, I'm excited for whoever's gonna take away this beautiful candle tonight. And if you don't win, please visit us at molitcandles.com and I'll drop my Instagram link as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Morgan, for sharing. I'm so proud of you and what you are doing, that you're following this particular part of your genius and creating new things. I have one of her candles and it is awesome. And they're so creative. If you check out the website, you'll be able to see the creativity behind the different types of jars and bottles and wines and, you know, things, taking something old and turning it into something new. It really is a beautiful concept. So I am going to see, let's see, I pulled somebody, but I'm not sure they're here. Andrea Hill Fitz, is Andrea here? No, okay, she's not here. So I'm spinning again. I'm putting it up here again. The next name that's coming up right now, is Elaine Taylor on? No. All right, I'm gonna try again. I need to get somebody who's on here. I should showing my screen so you all can see it. Okay, let's do it again. You know it takes a long because there's so many different names on here so you all can see it. Let's see. I promise I'm not cheating because I'll just all right, what is it doing? It's spinning. There we go. I want to give away some I want to give away the candle, and then of course I want to give away the 2 coaching sessions as well. So let's see. And all right, we're getting close. Come on, Mr. Will. Give me somebody that's here. Again, Andrea, how is that possible? Like, I feel like it's cheating. Okay, I'm going to remove Andrea because she wasn't here. Okay, I'm going to spin a couple of different times, and I'm going to apologize. We're a little bit after 7:30, so for those of you who are here, if you're here and your name gets taught, I've been looking in the chat to be able to pull everybody's name and see who is here. So No worries. If we pull your name and you actually have to go, just let me know. I have to go. Put that in the chat. And if your name gets called, I will still email you. Let's see. What else do we get? Carly? Is Carly here? No? All right. Are we going to have to do this again? Okay. This is going to take a long time if we keep having to do that. How many people? We still got 50 people on the phone. Somebody else is here. All right. It's spinning. Why don't you, while we're doing this, do you all have other things? Tomorrow is our last day together. Is there anything that you're like urgent, burning question that you're like, I have to ask Erica this? If so, I want you to put that in the chat while we're waiting for these special winners. Iris Williams, is Iris here? Okay, now this is becoming frustrating. Not really. All right, I'm gonna keep spinning. Let's see, I'm checking the chat while we're doing this. It's gonna spin again. And let me see the chat box and see what I can see in terms of your questions. Although it might not let me.
And she had to give her son a bath, so she'll still get her prize.
Okay, all right. I love that. I love that. All right, I hear you. I see you, Crystal. I'm so glad that you are here. I actually have the two people that are gonna win the I have another idea for the two people who are gonna win. Let's see, Maritza. Is Maritza here? Ah. All right, I'm gonna try one more time, ladies. This is frustrating. Otherwise, I might have to pull tomorrow. Maybe I'll start spinning earlier. That's what we might have to do. Maybe Khalid can do the spinning while I'm teaching, and then we'll be ready for this by the end. Yesterday was so easy because there was so many people on that we had 3 straight winners. All right.
I can do maybe what I can do is do the spinning tomorrow while, and then just say pick the names.
Right. Is Tracy here?
The prizes.
Tracy is definitely here. Yay!
Okay, Tracy, you just won the candle. That is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to email you, Tracy, get your address, and make sure that Morgan gets that. And so I have another idea. Rather than continue to do the random picker wheel, I wrote down at the very beginning of the class, before we actually started, who are the 2 people who were here before, almost before I was here. And those 2 people were Crystal Odom McKinney and Jermaine Reynolds. I wrote them down because I was like, if I get to too many people on this wheel and it's not working, I got 2 people I'm going to give it to. So those 2 individuals, are you all still, I know they were here. Are they still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right, Jermaine and Crystal, I am going to give you all coaching sessions, and then we are going to do some more. Congratulations. We're going to do some more tomorrow. I love giving these away because I just think that it's such an opportunity for growth for you and for me. So we're going to do that. Crystal and Jermaine, I'm writing your name down. I will send you a follow-up email. Ladies, please come tomorrow, even if you can just come either at the very beginning, at the end, or even in the middle. Please come tomorrow. I really honor you all. I honor your time. I'm sorry we're 7 minutes over. I'm going to be hopping on that for myself for the next few minutes because I want to make sure that we get in and get out. But I thank you so much. Please do the survey. We're going to put that in the chat one more time so that you all can fill that out. Tell me what it is that you got out of this session, and let's do it again tomorrow. Oh, Asia there's a couple of things that are in here. Asia said there's a Feel Real gathering and TED Talk tomorrow. If you can put that on the Facebook page, Asia, or throw it in the chat right now, we're looking. For those of you who have to go, that's great. But if you want to stay, I am going to stay for what I call our overtime session for another 20, 30 minutes afterwards, if anybody can or wants to stay. Otherwise, good night. We will see you tomorrow for day 3, final 3 of Black Women Empowered. Thank you so much. God bless you. And see you tomorrow.